everyone, I'm Liliana Schmick, Vice President of Warsaw Institute, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's very special event, Twisty's Partnership, the Perspectives of Austria and Bulgaria. The Twisty's Partnership project aims to create a formula to cooperation between institutions from the three Cs countries, supporting the cooperation of Central and Eastern European countries. The action involves building a federation of think tanks from the three Cs countries in which the Warsaw Institute Foundation operates. Today's event was established thanks to the cooperation of the Institute for Global Analytics, the Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy, and of course, Warsaw Institute. And the three Cs partnership program is being financed by the National Institute of Freedom, Center for Civic Society Development, as a part of the government program Civic Initiatives Fund Nove FIO for the years 2021-2030. And we are honored today to host Dr. Rumena Filipova, chairperson and co-founder of the Institute of Global Analytics. Hello.
Hi, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Livia Benko, research fellow at the Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy. Hello.
Hello, thank you for the invitation, and it's also a pleasure for me to be here.
Thank you very much for today's participation. Well, last month we hosted experts from Poland and Croatia, and we could learn from their perspectives on the 3Cs initiative. And well, just for those who are watching us today and don't know exactly what the 3Cs initiative is, let me quickly explain. The initiative is aimed at developing infrastructure in Central Europe, so the area between the Baltic, Adriatic, and Black Sea. And the 3Cs initiative is a forum of 12 countries plus Ukraine as a partner participant. But without wasting any more time, I would like to give the floor to my guests. So we'll start with you. Could you please tell us how the 3Cs initiative is perceived in Bulgaria, and whether people have heard about it, about this project, and if so, what do they think about it?
Thank you, Liliana. First of all, let me congratulate Warsaw Institute on the formation of the 3Cs partnership. And on behalf of the Institute for Global Analytics, I would like to say that we are very happy to participate and to develop collaborative ideas for our region. Now, in terms of the perception of the 3Cs in Bulgaria, overall, it has to be said that the initiative has still received subdued rather than committed and vigorous support in the country. On the one hand, there is still somewhat limited public awareness about the platform, which tends to be coupled with the wariness, which can sometimes be transformed into opposition on the part of the nationalist and also Russophile political and social networks in the country. And all of these factors lead to the fact that Bulgaria's fully fledged anchoring in the 3Cs initiative tends to be somewhat constrained, and discussions about the initiatives are limited to the technical and also economic aspects of cooperation. But when it comes to the political and conceptual dimensions of the initiative, it sometimes falls prey to unfounded interpretations, especially in pro-Russian disinformation, which tends to be advanced by the aforementioned social and political circles. And so in those disinformation narratives, the 3Cs can be presented as a new Iron Curtain or as a geopolitical battlefield in which Bulgaria is seemingly dragged in great power competition. So these are the overall perceptions of the initiative. But having said that, it is also important important to note that the three Cs received a greater degree of publicity and also popularization during last year's Sofia summit of the initiative, and the Bulgarian hosts underlined the importance of entrepreneurship, innovation, in attracting investments as the key benefits that the country sees for itself as part of its participation in the platform. However, 1 year on, since that summit in Sofia took place, it has to be mentioned that there haven't been yet concrete proposals put forward. In Bulgaria still has the least number of active projects within the initiative, and this is only trailed by the Czech Republic. So in general, we still have a long way to go in terms of fostering a much more sustained and detailed public discussion about the Three Cs initiative, and also a greater recognition has to be promoted on the level of politics and also business about the important opportunities that the platform can provide in various areas, and in particular in terms of not only economics and in certain projects in the three main areas of the initiative, but also for the future in terms of diplomatic initiatives, greater regional cooperation, also countering disinformation and enhancing digital connectivity. And I'd be happy to discuss the future and important potential areas for cooperation that Bulgaria can be a part of later on in the discussion.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Romana. It's very interesting what you said about the Iron Curtain, the new Iron Curtain. That 3Cs initiative is being perceived in such way. And Livia, could you please tell us how the 3Cs initiative is perceived in Austria, and is it similar to the Bulgarian approach, or is it something completely different?
Well, I would say that there is still limited public awareness as well in Austria when it comes to this initiative. However, it is gaining increasing importance. There was a recent conference held in Vienna in June, which shed more light and highlighted also this format among the others. Even though Austria's economic development and infrastructure are relatively more advanced compared to the other member states of the Three Cs initiative, the country expects to profit from participating in the format. Austria believes that this format is of great value for infrastructure and economic growth in the CE region. However, it stresses that any sort of duplication of EU competences must be avoided. Austria believes that the Three Cs initiative has great relevance and potential to improve the economic standing of its member states. And by investing in better regional connectivity and infrastructure, Austria expects the members to profit also politically. An increase in regional cooperation fosters European cohesion and would only strengthen the EU in the long run. So this is what Austria believes in. Within the EU, Austria sees its role as a bridge builder between West and East. Due to its geographic location in the center of the EU, Austria itself profits economically from an increase in trade and partnerships between the West and the East. And the Three Cs initiative format offers Austria a great opportunity to consolidate this position. But the country's good relations to Russia could complicate the situation in this regard in the light of the current developments. In contrast to most other member states of the initiative, Austria maintains relatively good relations with Russia, and their energy partnership is also particularly tight, as Austria is 80% dependent on Russian gas. With the current situation, this might start to change. In the long run, Austria is willing to find alternative energy sources and become less dependent on Russia. For example, therefore it supports the BRUA project. When it comes to actual contributing, Austria's efforts in the Three Seas initiative are still considerably underdeveloped. Austria is also not interested, for example, to join the Three Seas Initiative Fund. It hasn't done yet. Austria still has to decide how to define its role in the Three Seas Initiative more clear in order not to become a, let's say, free rider in terms of investment gaps and infrastructure requirements compared to the CEE countries. The current situation gives Austria the opportunity to change its general stance on the in the terms, and Vienna could develop a new formula to connect to the format to the countries with Ukraine and the Alpine Republic should not miss the opportunity to diversify its bridge building role towards the north-south connectivity corridors instead of sticking to the outdated east-to-west approach following Russia's war in Ukraine. And Austria should join the fund. That's a recommendation that the Austria should follow, and also enhance its political profile within the format.
Mhm. Correct. Thank you very much, Lydia. Actually, I would like to discuss the Three Seas Initiative Investment Fund in a second, because we know that Bulgaria and Austria were the initiating members of the Three Seas Initiative. Poland was there as well. And my question is, do you believe that the states that initiated the project will lose control of it? And I'm here thinking primarily about this investment fund, because there are currently investors from 9 countries, including Poland and Bulgaria. And as you also mentioned, Austria, for example, is not there. So, Romana, what do you think? Do you believe that the states that initiated the initiative will lose control of it, or they will be capable of making the decisions?
I think not necessarily. And actually, speaking from the Bulgarian perspective and what is happening inside the country politically and economically with regards to the Three Seas, I have to say that even though Bulgaria was one of those initiating countries, at the same time, it has actually not done enough. In order to put forward and implement projects. So, on the one hand, Bulgaria will still be a net beneficiary from the Three Seas initiative rather than a contributor in terms of financing, which is one side of the story, but also the other side has to do with the extent to which the country is able to put forward workable projects which fit in with the main, in a way, worldview and motivation behind the operation of the Three Seas initiative. And what I have in mind by that is the ability to put forward projects which are more regional in scope, as opposed to being strictly national in conception and implementation, because these are the kinds of projects that are currently active on the part of Bulgaria within the Three Seas initiative. These are usually projects in the area of infrastructure and to a lesser extent in energy, but which are focused within Bulgaria itself. And so far, Bulgarian politicians, but also Bulgarian businesses have not done enough in terms of conceiving of projects which can be done in cooperation with other countries of the Three Seas initiative. And that's why I would think that still Bulgaria is less competitive in terms of realizing its plans as part of the platform. And just one step, for instance, in the direction of the country becoming much more regional in orientation would be based on conceiving joint projects with Romania to begin with. For example, a lot can be done in terms of constructing better transport links with our northern neighbor, for example, building more bridges over the Danube or creating better railway connections between the two countries. So overall, in brief, regarding your question, first, from the Bulgarian perspective, I would not say that the country will lose the initiative, because even though it was one of the founding members, it has not taken full advantage of the platform. And secondly, still the types of projects that it puts forward are not competitive enough um, in terms of the framing and goals of the three Cs.
Thank you very much, Romana. And Livia, what do you think? I mean, how does it look like from your perspective, from the Austrian perspective? And my second question is why Austria is not joining the investment fund? Because you said that the recommendation is to join it in the future, but why is it so that Austria didn't join it yet? We cannot hear you. I think there's some internet connection. Okay. Livia, are you back? Are you back with us?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you well.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Because we couldn't hear you. Now, yes, but we couldn't hear your yeah your.
Yes. So I said, yeah, that's um, a pretty complicated question. Austria didn't seem necessary, didn't see the reason to join the Three Seas Initiative Fund. They were simply not interested to. Also, when it comes to projects, they are part of a lot of many projects, but they didn't initiate any projects. So there is a lack initiative on Austria's side. But all in all, I wouldn't say there wouldn't that the countries would be losing interest. The Three Seas initiative is, in my opinion, more important today than ever before. It's gaining increased importance. Just a few years ago, the initiative for developing the region sounded more abstract to many, but the Russian attack on Ukraine showed it's a necessity, actually, and it increased its importance. The countries want to cooperate more on infrastructure, energy supply, and security. Austria also wants to diversify from Russian gas, area of digitalization. When it comes to Austria, this country should draw from the experience of government and business professionals from the Three Seas region, dealing with the risks and opportunities of the current digital transformation, security challenges, and their impact on the future of cybersecurity. The format is highly decentralized and project-based, I would say, which suits Austrian interests, similar as the Central European Defense Cooperation, which Austria is also part of. This is a suitable format for Austria. And so far, Austrian participation has been rather low profile. As I already mentioned, it can be also seen from because the Three Seas members tend to send state ministers or even state heads to the summits, whereas Austria doesn't. However, Austria plans to increase this presence and also change this on the upcoming summits. The growing mistrust towards Russia following the war on Ukraine has led to a shift in Austria's politics, and Austria will turn increasingly towards other external actors to diversify its energy and trade ties. The majority of the Three Seas format countries platform for diversifying Austrian bilateral and multilateral relations with the Atlantic allies in the CE region. And For Austria today, the role of energy sector and its future development, especially in the context of security, is crucial. The country sees the added value of contributing to the implementation of already existing plans. And for example, just to mention one in the areas of infrastructure and energy and digital connectivity, the projects of Fairway Danube, which is very interesting for Austria.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And well, I would like to go back a little bit to Ukraine because you already mentioned it. And well, lately Ukraine was offered the status of Twisty's partner participant. I mean, lately it was during last summit in Riga. And Romana, what do you think about this? Will Ukraine deepen cooperation in the Twisty's initiative?
Yes, it's very important to develop cooperation with Ukraine as part of the Three Seas initiative in at least three ways. First of all, the Three Seas countries can play a role in the reconstruction of Ukraine in terms of committing capital, but also this would be an important opportunity to build better infrastructural and also digital connections between Ukraine and the neighboring countries. Secondly, Ukraine's cooperation within the Three Seas initiative will also contribute to speeding up Kiev's European integration process. And it would be an important stepping stone in that regard. And the third important area has to do with Black Sea security. As we know, currently there is a very different regional security dynamics in the Black Sea in contrast to the Baltic Sea. So we could say that there are very different degrees of security in the two areas. So in the Black Sea, we have, of course, the dominating role of Russia in its hostile operations in Ukraine, but also within the larger Black Sea area. And we can cooperate with Ukraine in a number of ways, including ensuring the freedom of navigation in the Black Sea, because as things stand now, um, there are only three countries in the Black Sea area which are members of NATO, so Bulgaria, Romania, and Turkey. But it would be important to extend cooperation with Ukraine, and in this way start to build a stronger coalition and denser networks among Euro-Atlantic actors in the Black Sea. And so to start to connect the areas of the Baltic Sea really and the Black Sea also in terms of ensuring equal security.
Towards the relations with Ukraine in Three Seas initiative, do you think that closer relations with Ukraine will weaken or it will strengthen the initiative?
I couldn't hear you. The question was towards me, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. Whether
So,
the yeah,
yeah, okay.
Ukraine and Three Seas initiative. Yeah.
Yes. So Ukraine, in my opinion, in its current position, needs all the supports that it can get. Its future is in the EU. The Ukrainian network of gas pipelines could satisfy the needs of all the states of the Three Seas Initiative and hub for the region. For example, the railway line between Warsaw and Kiev, or the north-south motorway via Carpathia. Ukraine was granted a new special kind of partnership, a participating partner status recently in the format. Involving Ukraine in the Three Seas initiative, in my opinion, is the right step in building a safer neighborhood and broadening the potential of the Three Seas initiative. So to the contrary, the ongoing invasion of Ukraine stressed the elevated importance of the format and its support for Ukraine in the current situation, and all the member states are aware of this. It clearly demonstrated the strategic importance and needs for secure and robust energy transport and communication infrastructure in the region, which also will reinforce the region's resilience. The countries of the initiative have a major role to play in this, and I to achieve energy dependence. When it comes to being significantly invested in the energy, banking, and commodity sector in Russia, the country will be also eager to more in.
Yeah, okay. Because there are some technical problems. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
There are some technical problems. I'm so sorry that you need to experience it. But Romana, so I will go back to Ukraine and Bulgaria and in general Three Seas Initiative. What role of Three Seas Initiative do you see in the process of reconstruction of Ukraine? In which area Three Seas Initiative might be helpful, and it might be different than, for example, European Union?
Now, apart from the concrete reconstruction development projects that can be implemented, it is also important to note that the extent to which countries of the Three Seas Initiative are committed to this process of helping Ukraine, of contributing to reconstruction projects. This commitment very much depends on the extent to which these countries' foreign policies are attuned to aiding Ukraine. And here I have Bulgaria in mind specifically because the country, and because there is a lot of political instability and different political actors and government configurations promote different ideas about Bulgaria's relations with Russia and Bulgaria's degree of support to Ukraine. And so not all the political environment, the political landscape, and the various actors are not unified in terms of their views. And so some of them are much more lukewarm about aiding Ukraine. And this happens not only through direct support, but also the extent to which Bulgaria, for instance, is able and willing to stand up to Russian energy domination in Bulgaria and Europe more widely. So my point is that the Three Seas Initiative can provide an important platform for countries to learn more about each other, to understand each other's perspectives. And so in a country like Bulgaria, where the media and general public political discourse is much more heavily dominated by pro-Russian perspectives, and there is much less knowledge about Ukrainian viewpoints and concerns. The Three Seas initiatives can serve as a site for socialization, mutual learning, and knowledge exchange through a number of initiatives that can be developed on the diplomatic, but also media and civil societal level. So I think that before countries can, in a country like Bulgaria specifically, can commit itself to aiding Ukraine as part of concrete reconstruction projects. For that to happen, there has to be the process of socialization and learning about each other's perspectives has to take place first, so that Bulgarian foreign policy is much more attuned to Ukraine's and not Russia's concerns.
Regarding the future of plans for the next couple of years. So we will experience next summit in 2023 in Bucharest. So what do you expect from this? Do you think that we can expect some key decisions? Maybe not only regarding the Ukraine, but in general, the plans, the actions of the members of the 3Cs initiative.
Now, above all, I think that there should be, and we may hope to see, a continuation of the plans that were developed at the Riga summit. And in particular, here I would highlight the Civil Society Forum, which happened for the very first time as part of the 3Cs initiative, and also a number of important recommendations were developed, which I think have to be concretely implemented in the future, including through the Bucharest summit. So I would highlight the idea for the establishment of a center for digital literacy, also a center for cybersecurity, and the establishment of a fund to support media and investigative journalists. I'm highlighting the civil society and also media dimension because I think it will further diversify the areas of and domains of development of the 3Cs initiative, so that apart from important infrastructural, energy, and digital projects, there is also a focus on the civil societal dimension, and also the fact that in general the 3Cs initiative can carve a greater role for itself in terms of media and cybersecurity, for instance, through the creation of a coordinated counter disinformation center. This can also be helpful in terms of amplifying the collective voice of the members of the 3Cs initiative, for instance, when important European Union policies in the area of combating disinformation and moderating, regulating the tech giants are concerned. So I think that branching out in a way and diversifying the areas of operation of the 3Cs is very important, not least because confronting Russian influence also happens by being aware and confronting the ideational media elements, discursive hostile activities of the Kremlin. And Bulgaria specifically, which is, I would say, highly vulnerable to Russian disinformation and Russian influence operations more generally. And really, I would argue that this is the most vulnerable country of the 3Cs. Member states can benefit significantly from such initiatives. It can participate in regional media resilience efforts and digital connectivity projects as well by consulting and applying the best practices employed by other countries, and also by fostering cross-country journalistic networks. So just to put it briefly, I think it would be very important for future summits, so for the Bucharest summit, but also summits in the following years to continue implementing in a consistent manner the recommendations and initiatives put forward at previous summits. In the civil societal media dimension would be an important way for the 3Cs to branch out.
the most vulnerable on Russian disinformation, but I think there are more countries that we don't even think that they are as well as much vulnerable as Bulgaria is on Russian disinformation. And Livia, welcome back. Welcome back. We were discussing our expectations from the coming summit of 3Cs initiative that will be hosted by Romania. Oh, Livia is gone again. Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. As you said, we should invest more in digitization. So it's a very good point, especially today. Well, I have just very last question to you, because I have thought that there is something really missing from the project. So I would say the budget of the fund is not very big at the moment, but it is estimated to be quite big, around 5 billion euros in the future. But I think that we need some kind of stimulus, some kind of a motor, because everyone talks about the initiative, but I don't see really like an action. I mean, it exists, and that's very good, but there is nothing, that will make it work. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that's actually a very important point to consider in the countries, including political elites, but also societies need to be more aware of the very important opportunities that the 3Cs initiative offers. And I think that partly the process of raising awareness can be conducted by civil societal actors, by informing media in public debate about the important aspects of the 3Cs initiative. And just to mention in general, one of the crucial aspects of the platform is that actually it provides a unique avenue for North South perspectives to come together, because otherwise they don't tend to be brought into frequent contact. And therefore, I think the 3Cs platform can serve as this site for socialization, particularly to bring together the perspectives of Baltic countries in the northernmost flank of the 3Cs, and then of the Balkan countries, specifically Bulgaria, but also Romania as part of the southern flank. And a greater dialogue among these can actually lead to a better understanding of the different historical experiences that the Baltic countries, Poland on the one hand, have had with Russian domination, and then Bulgaria in its experiences with Russia. And there can also be a discussion of the degree of success of contemporary policies aimed at countering Russian and increasingly Chinese influence. Because I think one problem within for the future integrated and consolidated functioning of the 3Cs would be the difference of perceptions and the difficulty of bringing some countries such as Bulgaria on board. So I think it is crucial for the 3Cs to also think about the enmeshment among the countries and bringing those perspectives together, so that the gap in perceptions and priorities is closed, and that these countries can act together in a more consistent and consolidated way.
Much, Rumelan. Actually, I have two questions from the audience. So let me start with the first one. What is the issue of the energy security of Bulgaria and Austria in the face of the war in Ukraine? And what might be the actions of 3Cs initiative towards the improvement of the security?
Now, it is very important to mention in this regard the BRUA energy project, which of course encompasses Bulgaria, Romania, Austria, and Hungary. It is focused on the development of the natural gas transmission system in Romania, and also connecting it to the Black Sea countries in their gas transmission grids as well. Now, this is a very positive example, I would say, of building energy security and also energy diversification, so that gas from alternative sources, such as from Azerbaijan, can flow from Greece, Bulgaria to Romania, Austria, and Hungary. Now, however, the problem is again linked to differences in policies, priorities in those countries, because even though the Brua gas transmission system has been already completed in Romania, the problem is that there are still unresolved issues with the Bulgaria-Greece interconnector, and it is actually vital for it to be completed and to be fully functioning in order for the Brua pipeline system to also work. However, Bulgaria's particular policy on energy, and the fact that the country, or at least a large number of the political actors in Bulgaria, are not ready to cut Sofia's dependence on Russian energy and to be fully committed to the functional operation of the Greece-Bulgaria interconnector, means that this plan is being stopped right now, and this creates problems for European energy diversification away from Russian energy sources in general. And here I should mention the fact that a former Romanian energy minister raised this issue, that is Bulgaria's reluctance to fully commit itself to the completion of the Bulgaria-Greece interconnector. He raised this issue with the European Commission, because actually Bulgaria's own policies and views of its relations with Russia, especially in the energy sphere, cannot just remain confined to Bulgaria itself, but these have regional implications. And when one country is not determined enough to diversify away from Russian energy sources, obviously it blocks the operation of three Cs projects, regional projects, such as the Bro one, and hurts the plans for energy security in the Balkans, but also in Europe more generally, which is not based on the dependence on Russia.
And the perspectives that this dependence will be smaller in the future?
Sorry, so that I couldn't hear the beginning.
Well, do you see any perspectives that this dependence on Russian resources will be smaller in the future?
I think that it very much depends on the political configuration, the government configuration that we will have, because as we saw in the previous, the first 7 months of this year, when we had a pro-Western government, which was quite committed to diversifying Bulgaria's energy supplies, there was the determination to stop negotiations with Gazprom, because after Gazprom cut off its gas supplies to Bulgaria at the end of April, also the government was unwilling to resume such talks with Gazprom. However, after the collapse of the previous government, we have a new political configuration, which is much more pro-Russian in nature, and which is not ready to continue that policy line, and even in contrast to that, it seems to be seeking a reversal of pro-Western policies, so that there is again a reorientation to Gazprom, and it is argued that these talks with the Russian company have to resume. So I would say that the prospects for Bulgaria's energy diversification very much depend on the political configuration, yet there is a lot of political instability in the country, and in addition to that, a majority of the political actors seem to be willing to give in to Gazprom's and Russia's interests more generally.
So the prospects are not very positive, I would say, but there is a
Exactly.
hope. But there is some hope that the
Yes, yes.
diversification of resources will happen very soon. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Romana. Thank you very much for your attendance, for joining us today. Thank you to your think tank. It is a pleasure to working with you and to having you today. The event will be available on our Facebook, YouTube channel, and at 3cispartnership.com and warsawinstitute.org. So to be sure that today's event would be available for those who might be interested in the future. I would like to apologize you, Romana, and our viewers for some of the technical difficulties. But as we discussed, digitalization is very important. So I hope in the future it will not happen. And the 3Cs initiative will also help us as well. So thank you very much again for joining us today, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.